What if you died, and science couldn't bring you back? What if you remembered a life you never lived, with details no one ever told you, or vanished in the mountains, only to be found in ways no one can understand? Tonight, we're diving into 5 real stories that science still can't explain, and they only get stranger from here. First up, the woman who came back from the dead. Our first story begins in the frozen wilderness of Norway, with a woman who should have died beneath the ice. But what happened next defied everything doctors thought they knew about death. In 1999, Anna Bogenholm went skiing in Norway with 2 colleagues. At one point, she lost control and slid off the trail, right into a frozen stream. The ice cracked and she fell through. She was trapped underneath for over 80 minutes. Her body was submerged in freezing water. She stopped breathing. Her heart stopped. When rescuers pulled her out, her body temperature had dropped to 13.7 degrees Celsius. That's 56.7 Fahrenheit, clinically dead. But doctors at Tromsø University Hospital weren't ready to give up. Using a heart-lung bypass machine, they began to slowly warm her blood. After more than 3 hours, her heart started beating again. Not only did Anna survive, she woke up with no brain damage. Scientists call it suspended death, but they still can't fully explain how her brain stayed intact for so long without oxygen. If you thought that was impossible, wait till you hear the next one. Next up is a story about the Pollock twins. In 1957, 2 young sisters, Joanna and Jacqueline Pollock, were killed in a car crash in England. A year later, their mother gave birth to twins, Gillian and Jennifer. As the twins grew, they began recalling eerie details, nicknames, toys, places they'd never visited. Jennifer had the same birthmark as Jacqueline, and when they first visited the town their sisters had died in, they knew their way around. Psychologists have studied the case for decades. Some believe it was grief-induced suggestion, but others see it as something else entirely, a memory carried beyond death. Science can't explain how these 2 girls recalled so much about 2 others they never met. Memories may fade, but in this next case, what was left behind is far harder to forget. Next up in our series of scary stories that defy all science is the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers disappeared while trekking through Russia's Ural Mountains. Weeks later, rescuers found their tents slashed open from the inside. The hikers had frantically fled into the snow, barefoot, in -30-degree weather. Their bodies were found scattered. One had a crushed skull. Another was missing her tongue completely. Some had internal injuries with no external wounds, leaving people shocked and clueless about what happened. And strangely, traces of radiation were found on their clothing. The Soviet investigation was rushed. Files were sealed. No cause of death was ever confirmed. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass remains one of the most terrifying cold cases in history. Some blame an avalanche, but that would not explain half of the disturbing injuries they found. Others whisper about military experiments. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass remains one of the most terrifying cold cases in history. Terrifying, unexplained, and still unsolved. But our next story brings science face to face with something even stranger. A bond so strong, it may have defied death. The Silent Twins. June and Jennifer Gibbons were identical twins who barely spoke to anyone else, only to each other. They invented their own language, moved in sync, thought as one. As teenagers, they became erratic, setting fires, committing petty crimes. Eventually, they were institutionalized. One day, Jennifer told June, "It's time, I'm going to die." Hours later, she collapsed and died suddenly without warning. Cause of death, acute myocarditis, a sudden inflammation of the heart. No drugs, no warning, no explanation. June later said they had made a pact. One had to die for the other to live. June later said they had made a pact. One had to die for the other to live. doctors still don't fully understand how one twin could choose to die with such precision. If that didn't leave you speechless, this final case might, because it's not just unexplained, it might not even be from this world. Our final chapter is the Green Children of Woolpit. In 12th century England, villagers in Woolpit discovered two children near a pit. They were speaking a strange language, wearing strange clothes, and their skin, it was green. The children refused all food, except raw beans. Eventually, their skin faded to normal. The boy grew sick and died, but the girl survived and learned English. She said they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, where everything was twilight. Some think it was illness, malnutrition, a folk tale, but others believe they came from a different world entirely. To this day, no one has explained where the Green Children came from, or where their world might be. 5 real stories, 5 impossible outcomes, revived from death, memories from lives never lived, bodies no one could explain, a bond that defied science, and children from somewhere else. If you want more truths they can't explain, subscribe. Because sometimes the strangest things are the ones that actually happened.